Okay, so welcome back to another podcast. Today it is just myself and Neil on this one. We're going to focus on the 5 objectives, which we had mentioned previously in maybe about 2 or 3 podcasts ago. So Neil, starting off, you had previously said in another podcast that you can't really just start AI marketing from scratch as an SME. You kind of need to have a structure to your content and have your previous content to build something strong. So what is it that you kind of meant by this, and how did you implement it in a way that was helpful for?
Well, what did we want to do as a digital retailer? And the first objective that really wanted to automate was creating content in the form of blogs.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not writing about yourself, if you're not talking about what's new, what's coming along, how things are developing, a blog is perfect for that. It creates rich text, which can be crawled not just by humans, but by bots.
Yeah.
Okay. So blogs is very important. So in that period of time, 2021 to 2025, you need to structure your blogs. You need to chronicalize them, and you need to equalize them. In other words, don't just do a blog for your company. Do a blog for all of the segments within your company that you want, that you feel you have an expertise or a relevance in.
Yeah.
And then you want to populate those blogs with your own content, with your own voice. It's really easy nowadays to just go, hey, generate a blog for me. But you've seen it. It's full of rubbish.
Yeah, we've experienced that over the past kind of coming up to over a year now, maybe about 15 months, that it's so easy to create a blog or any type of content using ChatGPT, but it's quite hard to get relevant, actual good content, and people don't really seem to see that. They put it in what they want, it gives an output. Brilliant, job done, fired on, but that's just not, you can't do that. It's not good content. It's bad, weak content. Whereas we now know the different steps and prompts you need to take to get this good content, like asking it things in certain ways, going about things in different approaches than the usual person would.
Yeah. So if you take it if you take it in terms of structuring your blogs, that just basically means, okay, well, what's your title? What's the format of those blogs? Answering questions was the critical aspect of blogging. In other words, rather than starting with the introduction, write a blog about this, and you needed to identify what made your blog so relevant and interesting and where it was drawing from. So you needed to create the 4 or 5 central pillars, and then at the end, an introduction and a conclusion. So structure, absolutely critical over the last 4 years in terms of defining what did we want our blogs to talk about, so that we weren't just producing. If you're not the solution, then you're part of the problem. So if you're creating garbage stuff, you're part of the problem. To be the solution, you needed to structure your content so that when it was put through the AI, it was able to answer questions in a much more timely and customer-friendly manner. The chronicling of it, important again, to show that there's an evolution, there's a change in how you approach the same problem, how you grow into it. And then the equalizing of the blogs is making sure that if you've got plenty of blogs in one particular area, but in another area it's a bit weak, you don't cheat, you don't steal from that, you create the content where there's a gap. And I would say that in 2021 to 2025, that's what we set out to achieve. And the things that I learned most from it: be imaginative, don't be boring, be prepared to make mistakes, trial and error, change, evolve, learn what works, and be patient as well, and bring other people, you included, along for the ride. It can't just be your voice. It needs to be several other voices, what they think and how they're writing about stuff, but following a structure.
Yeah, and that is really interesting, because over the past 15 months, there's been maybe 4 or 5 of us who've all tried to create the blogs using ChatGPT, and we all get different outputs because we're all thinking about it and going about it in different ways and inputting things in different ways. And it is interesting to see everyone's perspectives and how different things can come out, and we can all take things from each other that worked well and come together to create something really strong blog wise.
Well, where are we?
Where are we with the blogs?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting stronger as we go on. Definitely this time last year, we're still failing, as you had mentioned before. We are experimenting with stuff, we're failing with stuff, and that's important to do so you know what works and what doesn't. At the minute now, we're putting more in about giving it the links in, which we had done before. We're giving it links to kind of crawl from, but it wasn't very strong before, and you'd think it was reading through the links, but it was really just pretending to and then making stuff up. A good example that we saw today was the testimonials. We were trying to put testimonials into the blog, maybe one that's relevant into each section. And before, it would make one up and make it look real, and you thought it was real until you kind of looked at it a bit more and thought, no, that's not real, because there's just little things you can tell. But this time, now that it's sourcing and showing citations of where it's getting its information from, you could see that it was going into our testimonials page on our website, which it hadn't previously been doing. It was going on to our Reviews.io. It was going on to some other random review websites. So we know now that it is properly getting this stuff, and it's evolving, and it's not lying to us as much anymore. It's still definitely lying in some aspects, it always does, but not as much anymore, which is nice to see.
I would say that you are almost there. You're at, what's that point, before
cusp.
you go to the very pinnacle of Everest. Yeah. I'd say you're there. The blogs can be generated. If I wanted 2 to 4 blogs being generated a day of a quality whereby I said, this is our voice and it answers real questions, it deals with people's real issues, and it's able to deliver it in a way which sounds like us, and in some cases is actually better than us, and presents it in a way which is pleasant and effective, I'd say you're right there. I am literally blown away at how effective, when you give it strict structure, format, formula, how it's able to produce incredible responses, and it's able to cite you correctly. So in my opinion, would I be happy to launch those blogs now? Well, look at what it was this time last year. The amount of coding that was required. As a small businessman, I'm looking at it and saying, well, you produce a blog, give it to me, and I have to human edit it. And the amount of human editing that's required into it.
So much work. You may as well have written the blog yourself.
I may as well have done it myself. So there's no gain there. In the space of a year, the net gain has gone exponential. And I think that that's the curve for AI. I'm pretty sure that you can launch these blogs now and they sound just like us. I'd say I'm quite happy as a business person to say that aspect of generating blogs, which is a very timely, exhaustive, and I have been refusing to actually let AI do it until I had the structure, the chronicle, the equalization all done. I'm quite comfortable with it now because it's drawn from the sections of the website. It's drawing from those areas that I'm comfortable with it doing, which means that whenever I proofread it, I don't need to change, I don't need to fix things.
But again, going back to what I said previously there, like, is it really growth on their part, or is it on our part? Experience and knowing what's gone wrong. Like, is the AI growing and bringing out new models? Yes, obviously it is, but are they making the difference in the way we're doing things, or is it our own learning?
No, it's us, and that's why we're doing these podcasts. That's why we're putting this out here. Why we have been doing it for the last couple of years. If you remember back to the very early days of these podcasts, it was for your future self, the journey for your future self. And I think it's our growth, it's our development, it's our understanding as to how how to apply these AI tools, how to conceptualize them, how to silo them, how to vectorize them so that it becomes a better representation of us and we're happy to put our name to it rather than bringing in nonsense from other people. Yeah. There will become a point whereby you want to bring in other interests, but define them and keep them strict and keep them structured.